Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. I am your co-host here, Ashton, with my awesome co-host, Zach. Guys, I hope you're having a nice March. The weather is going up and down, and I hope you guys are just taking a bite out of life. But it is that time of year. The draft is starting to come up. How you doing, Zach? How are you feeling? I hear we have a lot of news to go over, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of drama. So I'm going to let you take a bite at it.
Yeah, everything's going well. Super great to be on this. Usually this is the time where we're not getting a whole lot of information. It's more just mock drafts and things like that. But we do got some news going on today. First off, the NFL officially sets a date and time for the Rams versus 49ers game in Australia. We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to be the first week just based on all the scheduling. But the NFL officially released that on Thursday, September 10th at 5:35 p.m. Pacific. For us East Coasters, that's 8:35 p.m. We will see the Rams take on the 49ers in Melbourne, Australia. It's a 17-hour time difference between the two, between LA and Melbourne. So they chose to play it. It'll be Friday morning in Melbourne. But yeah, it's gonna be epic. I've had a few 49ers friends of mine already PM me asking me if I was going to go attend. It's a big commitment. It's a long flight, especially from the East Coast. You think 17 hours is bad from the West Coast. You add an additional 5 over here for the East Coast, and it's a lot. And obviously with that hefty price tag. How are you feeling about this? This will be the second game of the week. The Seahawks will be playing sometime Wednesday evening for their game. What are your thoughts about this?
I think it's going to be a cool place to play. I know it's in a rugby stadium. It seems like a very beautiful city. So if you guys have that kind of money, which I don't know if you've seen the price of gas, Zach, or the price of plane tickets, or even just getting to a plane. It gonna be a rough time if things stay the same, but hopefully everything's better by then. You guys can get a ticket, go out there, go see the Rams play down under, and yeah, it seems like it would be a very fun experience. You get a little bit traveling in at the same time. Hopefully they get a good, nice dub opening up the season. That time change is probably going to kill them, though. That I'm a little worried about that. You kind of see why they had to do it at this period in the week, timeline wise, just because like doing it on Sunday or Saturday, you can set back both of those teams a good amount. So
they want to give the max amount of time for them to come back and be able to be ready to go for the following Sunday.
Yeah.
So that gives them, a week and a half to really plan and prep and be able to get back and be able to adjust back to normal time.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the Rams prepare logistically for that, since it is the first week of the season. So you do get a little bit more grace. I'm sure they may not. You may have to fly over there early just because of how drastic the time change is. It's not exactly the same as if the London game. So 1-to-1, I don't know, but seems like it'll be a fun place to go. Hopefully the food is great. I hear Australian food is pretty good, and you dodge any kangaroos trying to beat you up.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to go early, but I would anticipate that they will be taking a flight pretty much directly after the game back to LA. So yeah, it's going to be good. Thursday, September 10th, 5:35 p.m. Pacific, 8:35 Eastern Time. Moving on to the next round of news. Let's talk about Puka. Does Puka have a PR problem, Ashton? Reports are coming out this week, thanks to TMZ, that he has a new allegation against him, against a woman that he supposedly bit and had some anti-Semitic messaging going out there. This just comes after just a week after JSN gets his massive contract. making Puka the next kind of wide receiver to, most likely cap what or go over what JSN just received. Do you think that this is a PR problem for Puka, or do you think that he's just, he's an easy target right now?
Okay, so at least on the anti-Semitic comments part, we don't know what happened there, whether or not that's kind of like he said, she said. Puka's lawyer did admit to the biting, so he's a freak, but we know that with how he plays.
Did he admit to the biting? I thought he said that the
Yes, the
allegations were completely
lawyer.
false.
To my knowledge, the lawyer admitted that the biting happened, but it was horseplay. So, I mean, either way, it'll get settled in court. We don't know 100% what happened with the comments. I think trying to bundle this up as if Puka's AB is a little reckless and a little like it's starting to teeter on where I feel like people want to see him crash out. Don't get me wrong. He has made a lot of mistakes. He needs a PR team. He's done a lot of stupid things that kids, and he's still a kid. He's still a growing, he's what, 23 now, 24? You're still doing stupid stuff at that age. And we have to have some grace for him. Hopefully he gets better at it and doesn't stops doing and going on stupid shows and putting himself in these situations. And he has to learn he is at that point of stardom where people will take advantage if you do stupid stuff. And you just got to not put yourself in those situations.
Yeah, I think this all falls around the same time of when all that other stuff was as well. When he was making fun of when he was putting blame on the officiating crew, when he was doing that with that live streamer, the dance, which I really truly believe he did not realize what he was doing. He's like, hey, the streamer's like, hey, you should do this dance. It's my dance. He's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then come to find out it's some sort of anti-Semitic dance or whatever.
Yeah, that's different.
That's different. And so this is all kind of having the same time. He's young, he's having fun, he's making a really good living being a professional football player, being that celebrity figure. I think I think this is going to be learning on how he's going to have to refocus, figure out what's most important and move on there. There's a way that you can have fun and still be responsible. And so I think these are learning lessons that he's just gonna have to learn on his own. I still think he's an excellent wide receiver. I think he's still good for the Rams. I don't think he's a bad culture. He doesn't add negatively to the Rams culture. I don't think. I think a lot of this stuff it's in his own making after hours, and so he'll adjust. I think he's a good man. He knows he has the right people around him. He has people in his life. He still works out with Cooper Kupp. And things like that. So, he does have some good blocks around him. Will he stay on that track? We'll see in the next, 6 months, years to come.
Yeah, and I just think all the people trying to that Don Clabman or whatever that trash NFL account is that just seeks engagement, listing stuff that his brother did and then adding the ref comments as if what he said wasn't true and on the same level as anti-Semitic remarks or anti-Semitic dance that again, hopefully he didn't know. But again, that stuff is not on the same level and trying to make it just feels a little artificially like people are trying to inflate it so it is bigger than it is. And that's my biggest issue. This doesn't excuse his behavior. Some of his behavior has been stupid. And hopefully he gets a PR team and hopefully the Rams kind of nip in bud because typically we don't see this from Rams players, even this level of shenanigans, I will say.
I mean, I definitely think that there could be some, taking advantage of Puka and his being young and, about to get a whole lot of money coming through there. So again, hope for everything that everything settles out the way it should be. and we'll kind of leave it at that. Going with his potential money bag that he's going to get with the Rams, things are still going to take a lot of time. There's still a lot of work to be done about that contract. I don't think a lot of it is focused on these issues, but trying to find a number that suits both parties. So right now, I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, he's going to get paid a bag, and he was going to get paid a bag before JSN anyways.
He just probably might make a little bit more now than maybe before.
To be honest, I kind of expected to be around 44, 45 mil anyways. Like, he's going to get paid a ton, so we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal, 1 mil or 2 mil more.
Yeah. Next up on the Rams news, Rams re-sign Larry Murchison for a 1-year deal. He appeared in 16 games with the Rams this past season, missing kind of the entirety of 2024. He tallied 2 sacks, 8 tackles, and 3 quarterback hits while playing 126 defensive snaps and 44 snaps on special teams. How are you feeling about this?
I mean, he is part of a terrific D-line and terrific D-line depth. He is someone that always does jump out when he can get in the rotation. He is good at applying pressure and pretty good in the run too. So he is someone that you feel confident whenever he steps in. He's going to keep up that level of play and that energy. And I love this D-line group. I'm happy they can bring him back. He is definitely one of those people you can imagine that other teams can kind of snipe for a few extra mil here and there. And we've seen those people leave, like Morgan Fox, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'm happy he's staying and coming back, and hopefully he can keep on being a dog on that line.
Yeah, it's always good when you see a player once he resigns, you see how much he loves the the organization as a whole. He loves the Rams. He bleeds. He went out on X and saying he bleeds, blue and yellow. So, someone who likes to be in and wants to be all in on a team is something special, and you don't want to lose those players. I mean, the Rams continuously, whether that's bringing them in from the draft or bringing them in from free agency, you hear how much the Rams really back their players, and whether a player leaves or whatever, it's always usually for the right reasons. Obviously, there are some exceptions to that, but the Rams have a really good culture that seems to be unmatched almost probably anywhere else in the league. So, and then kind of lastly, as far as the news front goes, let's kind of talk about the Fanatics Flag Football Classic. Ashton, I know you watched it. We had our boy Devontae Adams play along with some former Rams players like OBJ and Jalen Ramsey. What were your kind of initial thoughts out of what really seems to be a blowout win for the flag football community and a big L for the NFL community when it comes to the flag football, the Olympics, things like that?
So, I mean, there's a lot of layers to what happened. First off, there was some arrogance on some of the NFL side, and I would say on the NFL fan community side of not realizing that there is some special talent on Team USA with flag football. That said, I will say there are some overblown saying some NFL players can't play at all, and that's just not true. It's just a different rule set. It takes a decent amount of time and effort to learn. And this was something I feel like a lot of the players didn't prepare for like they should have. I mean, they took it lightly, which not a big deal. It was a fun event. But you could see in the third game or the second game for it wasn't Tom Brady's team. I forget who was the head coach of the other one. Sean Payne, I think. Hate Sean Payne, but his team, they did a lot better and were more competitive. They still lost by 10 points, I think. But, yeah, it is something that you're going to have a special type of NFL player that can be able to play it. I know Jane Daniels is used to it. He's kind of played it his whole life, and he was probably the best NFL player on the field. outside of, I would say, OBJ had a good day, and then Devontae had a few great catches too. So people like Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray would be great at it. I legitimately believe in. Yeah, you're gonna just have to have a lot of nimble people, and it's a different type of sport, so it'll take some time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think people like OBJ, who's trying to find a new home, really showed off that he's still playing at a good level, being able to do those one-handed catches. Really just showed his athleticism even in this kind of environment. They seem to have a lot of fun. That's what I kind of took out of it. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but at the snippets I saw, it seemed like both sides seemed to have had a good time, playing by the flag football rules.
Yeah, Gronk. I love Gronk, but Gronk tore his ACL, I think.
Within the first drive, right?
Yeah. It was the first. That felt so bad. They look like they were having a lot of fun too. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I want to see Gronk play one more time, like a few more times. He's just such a fun player. Like him and like Marshawn Lynch, they make you smile whenever you see them. And hopefully we get more players like that in the league.
For sure. All right. So let's talk about what this whole episode is about. It is our 2026 NFL draft preview for the Rams specifically. Let's talk a little bit about what the LA Rams have currently. As you all know, that they gave up their 29th overall pick for this year so that they could pick up Trent Duffy. So let's see what they have to work with. They have their number 13th overall pick, thanks to the Atlanta Falcons trade from last year. In round 2, they have the 61st overall pick. Then in round 3, the 93rd overall. Round 6, the 207th overall. And then in the 7th, they have 3 picks, 232, 251, and 252. Only 2 of those picks out of all of them are their picks. Everything else was done through trades from previous years, so on and so forth. And then the last 2 are compensatory picks. So let's start off a little bit, Ashton. Who I want to know, in your full opinion, before we start talking about different options of what the Rams could do at 13, who is your favorite pick, or what do you think the Rams are going to do with pick 13?
My favorite pick, and okay, so what they're going to do in my favorite pick,
those are my 2 separate things.
Yeah, those are 2 separate things, and I'm going to let people really know I do have some, I would say most draft seasons I have differing views from most of the Rams community with who they should draft. I've been very wide receiver heavy and tight end heavy before they picked up Ferguson, like 3 or 4 years before they end up making those moves. So, yeah, we'll see. If you're talking about at 13 specifically, if we stay put, I'm going to be honest, the more I've looked at this draft, the people who I wanted, I don't think will be there at 13. And it's kind of a dead zone. The only person I would say is worth taking a really good shot at is Tyson. And we can talk, this wide receiver class is so interesting and so deep. But it's a very complicated class because it's full of different archetypes of wide receivers, but none of them are fully perfect prospects in the sense of like they check every box. They're perfect all around, and they're going to be slam dunk home runs. They all have, like, let's say, perceived weaknesses coming out of the draft. And what I mean by that is, like, I would say overall the best complete prospect would be Tyson, but he has injury concerns coming with him. And if you're talking about Tate, the wide receiver coming out of Ohio, he is probably the most well-rounded, but like his out of the gate probably doesn't have the highest like ceiling instantly. He's like a safe, good, like all around gonna be a good guy. He kind of reminds me a lot of Robert Woods. But Tate's gonna go in the first like 7 or 8 picks. I think Tyson will be there at 13, and it sucks because I've been Lemon over Tyson for, I would say, leading up until last month. And the more I've dug into it, the more that I still think Lemon is the best route runner in this class. It's between Tyson and Lemon. And I would say Lemon is slightly better. It's just Tyson is bigger, taller, and more explosive and quicker than Lemon. But I just don't feel good with taking Lemon at 13 now after doing more research. And that's in comparison to the rest of this draft class. I think in a normal year, Lemon would be perfectly okay to go at 13. And I think that's where it's a complicated class and a lot to dig into, Zach, because you have guys that are way more raw, but like physically like quick and super strong and impressive, but they're a little bit rougher on their route running and stuff like that. It's a very unique and deep and interesting class to kind of dig into. And so let's kind of talk. We can talk about that too.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about the wide receiver since we brought it up. I think we're all anticipating that if the Rams decide they are going to stay at 13, which we can talk about the options that they may not do that, they're looking at probably an offensive weapon, whether that is going in this wide receiver route, which there are several that they could choose to, again, depending on how the draft goes out. You mentioned two of them, Lemon, Tyson, and you also mentioned Tate. Tate's probably going to be gone by that point.
Yeah, he's going to be the first one off the board.
He should. He should. So, what do you think the Rams are looking for when it comes to a wide receiver? My problem with Lemon, which I was a big Lemon fan for a while too, is maybe his height. He is not a very tall wide receiver. You're looking at him at a 5'11" standpoint right now. Right now, his draft prospect is looking to be around somewhere between 7 and 16. They think that, if he gets past the Rams, that the Jets are going to take him at 16. He's also, but on the plus side, a lot of people compare him to St. Brown. And he's only 6 foot. So, there's an inch difference there. What do you make of that as far as, do you see that on the plate where he is more like an Amon-Ra St. Brown type player, or is that overhype?
He reminds me a lot, and I don't know if you remember when I was pounding the table for this player in the 3rd round, I believe, but Josh Downs. He reminds me a lot of a more refined Josh Downs. And Josh Downs had a kind of bumpy start to his NFL career, but since has become a really good slot player for the Colts. And he has kind of blossomed, become a decently really good wide receiver with them. So I think Lemon will kind of follow that path. I think he's going to have to start in the slot in the NFL, and he could potentially play on the outside, especially if his route running is, again, like top notch. It's best in the class. It's reason why he gets separation when he does. The question is, can he get that separation with that route running against NFL defenders, same way he was doing it against college defenders? I don't know. That's going to be more of a question that like NFL scouts can answer because they watch way more tape and game and stuff like that. I have a full-time job, guys. I have a part-time job, and we do this podcast. So, and I volunteer for my church. So I have limited time over here to do a lot of this research and scouting. And I try to do it for the podcast. And I did it. I did a lot of O-line stuff for a Cardinals podcast too. So to round this out, Lemon, I think I would be okay trading back and picking him up if we wanted to do that. I don't like it at 13 because there are people that I feel like if we trade back or if we take them at 13 wide receiver wise, I would be happy with. I think Omar Cooper, the more I've seen of his tape and the more I've seen of his plays, he's really impressed me. I've been talking a lot about Zachariah Branch. Now this wouldn't be at 13. I would be comfortable with like trading back at the end of the first round. But guys, put on tape. I'm a Georgia fan. I've been trying to tell people about Branch. He is explosive. He's one of the quickest wide receivers in this draft. He is big and very strong. He breaks tackles. He just hasn't gotten a lot of use deep down the field for Georgia. They've done a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of passes, swing passes. They do a lot of screens and stuff like that. But I feel like Branch is a perfect candidate for the Rams because Zach, he's the type of third wide receiver. He's like a buff, or not buff, but like a buffed up version of Tutu. He is quicker than Tutu. He's a little bit bigger formed. He'll be able to he's great at blocking because they do a lot of blocking at Georgia with running. So I do really think Zachariah Branch would be kind of a great wide receiver 3 coming into the NFL. He'll be able to give you nice fades down the field and kind of stretch the field for you, hit a few long runs like we would hit with Tutu every so often. He'll give you that. But also, he's an underrated route runner in this class. And I feel like people haven't caught on to that. And when they do, I really do think he is more in the vein of Waddle than like anything that we've had before. He is very Brandon Cooks-ish.
Yeah.
Very Brandon Cooks-ish.
I mean, again, what worries me again is his height, 5'9", 180 pounds. But that does allow him maybe to be that explosive person, as you were saying. He ran a 4.35 in the 40-yard dash. He's viewed as dynamic slot receiver and return specialist, both things that we really could utilize.
You get like 3 things there because think about it, Zach. This year, you get a deep threat, you get a returner. You use that now. And then later on in year 2 or 3, he can become wide receiver 2. I know this guy. He has great route running. He's very smart. He can block. He'll develop into a fantastic wide receiver 2. And we don't need someone to out physical people because we have that in Puka.
I know, but then you kind of look at Tutu Atwell and was like, would this just be?
Will they use him? Yeah.
Will they use him? And that's the problem that I'm facing. If you don't have someone who's out of the box a true talent, is Sean McVay going to utilize him to its fullest, or are they just going to utilize him for 1 or 2 plays when the design play is there, and maybe Stafford will get to him if that's the option?
I think Branch has the talent, man. I like him a lot. He is in the top 3 or 4 talent-wise, in my opinion, for this draft, wide receiver-wise. And this is a deep class. Like, I think Jermaine Bernard out of Alabama, he has an argument that he's been kind of underutilized and someone who is he's a little bit taller, a little bit slower, but he's a physical guy. He's kind of like, I don't like his profile as much as Mbuka coming out because, I was a big Mbuka guy. I wanted us to get him really badly. And when he was healthy, he was a monster. But I think I think Bernard would be that kind of also similar target you could look at. Or Chris Brazel, you want to look at some guy who is, I would say, raw on the – Tennessee's offense is a very interesting one because they have produced a lot of wide receivers that have not translated to the NFL in the last 3 or 4 years, right? I liked Hyatt coming out. He's struggled to make the field in New York, but Brazil is bigger than those guys, and he is super quick. I think he ran the second quickest 40, and he shows that speed on tape. The problem is some of his route running is a little bit less refined. He is a big guy. I know, Zach, you like your big guy, 6'4", super quick 40. A physical, again, this draft class has a lot of physical freaks that the question is not are they fit physically for the NFL? It's more like, will they be able to grow into it? And
Right.
you never know until they're truly there.
So you look at Branch. Branch seems to be a second round, mid to late second round pick. So
I would
when
take
you're
him
looking
late
at,
first, personally.
so you would go back and pick him up later.
Yes. Yeah, if we trade back, he is the wide receiver I would want to pick up the most. If you're talking about that second tier, because I put Cooper Jr. in the top tier. Like if I'm ranking the options, I would go Tyson, Cooper Jr., Tate, Lemon, Branch,
So
Concepcion,
that was
Brazil,
the
and
one.
then Boston.
Yeah, I was about to talk about Cassipion because that's one of the ones that I've also seen out there mentioned as a good fit for the Rams. It's looking more like that late first round, early second round pick. He's a little bit longer. I think he's maybe just at 6, maybe slightly under 6 foot. Seems like he has good explosiveness. He was a really good punt returner. Um,
Yeah.
could be a potential fit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what traits the Rams really like and go for. I personally think Concepcion kind of reminds me of a worse version of Xavier Worthy, personally. And I feel like he struggles more with blocking than Branch does. And I think that is something that this Rams coaching staff, with really the exception of Tutu, has been a very big proponent of making sure their wide receivers can block.
So you would be willing to not if let's say at 13 Lemon was available, you would pass
I
on
would prefer
him,
trading back. Oh, yes.
trading
I
back
would
to pick
prefer
up
trade.
one of these other players.
Or I would just draft Omar Cooper with 13, personally. I think he is worth that pick at his talent level. My personal preference is trading up. That is my personal preference.
All right. So now we've talked about trading back because again, we're going to be looking for an offensive weapon, correct? We're not going to move up for a defensive or an offensive lineman.
So going back to 13 real quickly, I would be okay if we went DB there. If we had Manor, I don't want to say Lenore because I know that's not right, but the LSU cornerback, I believe it's LSU. If he falls, perfectly okay if they choose to go and get a third cornerback there. I think you get more bang for your buck in this draft class going wide receiver, but I totally get the mindset of going cornerback given the situation at our cornerback room, and you just want to make it locked down.
Mansour Delane.
My personal, Delane. I keep on wanting to say Denor, the cornerback from the 49ers. But Zach, the guy I like, the guy that I've gotten a draft crush on, not as bad as Bowers. I know you got tired of hearing me talk about Bowers that one draft. It's not as bad as that, but Jeremiah Love, the more and more I've seen of this kid, the more he isn't up there with Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers as like I think they're going to be surefire like elite players. And don't at me about Ashton Genty. He played great. He was a top 10 running back with the bottom 2 O-line. So put respect on his name. Us Ashton's got to stick together. But Love can do it all. I mean, he really can, Zach. He can catch as good as some wide receivers. He is great at blocking. He's a home run hitter. And it's one of those things. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, you look at him and you're right. He can do everything. He's that bell cow back. He has that home run speed. He's that. Notre Dame really kind of knows how to formalize running backs. I mean, Kyron Williams was a former Notre Dame running back too. Again, not as explosive as I think that we saw from Jeremiah Love, but that connection is still there. He has that elite game speed. He was able to run a 4.36 in the 40-yard dash.
Yep.
He's that he could be that 3-down weapon, like you were saying. And so,
he wouldn't.
He wouldn't. No, but he has that ability to be.
Yeah. So let me try to convince people. And this has been kind of like my biggest pet peeve on Rams Twitter. When you bring up Love, outside of like, I get it if you don't want to spend the capital to get him, completely understand that point of view. Guys, this guy is so good and so talented. We could run 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and have him line up as a tight end. And he would be as good as some of our tight ends in that position. That is how good of a prospect he is. He could line up at wide receiver in different areas. We can have double running backs in the backfield, have Kyron on one side, have Love on the other, and do a run around and like have them toss the ball to Love and have him run. The amount of fun, different personnel things Sean McVay could do with this running back, McVay would be salivating, because all you need to do is give this kid the rock and he can break a touchdown any play. He would be the most explosive player we've drafted since Puka, with just having the pure rock in his hands and being able to, again, you don't have to get rid of Corum or Kyron. They can stay on the field and keep their roles and just mix in Love in different spots of the offense randomly to confuse and cause mismatches. Like
this would be,
yeah.
I was going to say, this would be a different caliber running back than what the Rams have had maybe in the whole Sean McVay era, outside of Gurley. You're looking at someone who is a lot leaner. He's taller than our current running backs, going with 6 feet, roughly, that 210, 214 range. And the one thing that I think you're going to love and probably would highlight specifically, he's had one fumble in his 430 career carries.
Yeah, and he also has the most 90-yard plus touchdowns in college football over his time or over his college career. Like, this guy can hit a home run anywhere on the field. And I could just see where you had a dual backfield, Kyron and Love next to each other, and then you have Stafford motion out Love, and he goes into a tight end position, and they throw a screen to him because the defense decided to go super heavy. And then you have a big linebacker trying to catch this super quick 4-3 running back on the edge. And it's just not going to happen. He's going to be able to break one. I just think he would be worth it. You would have to probably trade up the 3 with the Cardinals to try to get that done, because there's kind of a consensus in the draft community that the tight ends are going to try to take him at 4. There is other people saying money wise that would be very hard and you save less money positionally because that would be around a 10 million salary for a rookie running back. You're not really saving money there compared to other positions. So what's your initial thought after I kind of try to sell you on the fact that he could line up at tight end, line up in wide receiver? We could come out in 13 personnel, 12 personnel, but with 2 running backs, but just lined up in different places and run different concepts. Does that kind of convince you that we could get a third really good running back?
I think so. I think it would push Blake down a total. It's all weird because we just signed Ronnie Rivers to another year contract. I think if it does, I'm a Kyron supporter. I don't think anyone's going to immediately take his job. Again, I think it's Kyron's to lose. Jeremiah Love, I think, definitely would bring a better 1-2 punch than the Blake Corum, Kyron Williams that we currently have. So I would love it. I just don't know how we would get there, how we're going to trade up in the draft without losing capital for the future.
You're going to have to lose you're going to lose capital of future, but like I said, you could have a 3-headed monster because I legitimately think we would probably have 3 starting caliber running backs, but also able to rotate. And imagine how fresh each one would be, Zach. And by the end of the game, you can see, I guarantee you, linebackers after trying to tackle Love and Kyron and Corum for a full 3 quarters, we're going to see more Corum and Kyron long runs from that too. We could legitimately become a run first team just off of drafting Love and adding him onto this offense.
What do you think we would have to give up? Because here's the other thing. We don't have a whole lot of picks this year. And we don't have a whole, we have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but we don't have a 4th or 5th. We have 1 6 and 3 7s. So how do we make the math work where we're still going to be more competitive because we still need more position. We need to still fill more positions because again, this year it feels like we're trying to do Super Bowl or bust for this year.
So this draft is weird because a lot of the top end of the draft is non-valued positions by front office leagues. It's like linebackers are crazy. If Reese fell to us by some miracle, or either of the Alabama linebackers, they would be worth the 13th overall pick. They would be nuts in our defense. But you have non-valued from NFL GM front office kind of point of views, non-valued positions at the top of the draft. I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for trading up, Zach, in this draft. There's just not a lot of players that I think teams that are at positions valued enough for teams to really want to give up the capital next year. And my point there being 27 is viewed as one of the, I would say, best drafts in the last 10 years. And front offices are going to try to hoard those picks. And that gives you a lot of power because there's less competition giving away picks to trade up. And if you do offer one of those picks, I could legitimately see a team wanting to move back 10 spots for just a 2nd and a 3rd, a 2nd next year and a 3rd this year. I could see a team potentially wanting to move down for that price because teams are viewing 2nds next year like 1st. And yeah, it would suck to lose that, but to get a player that could just be so dynamic and cause your offense to be so flexible and multiple. I know Sean McVay loves multiplicity in his offense. I think it would be worthwhile in a Super Bowl winning move. And I think that's the type of move you should make, especially if you're only giving up a 2nd and a 3rd this year and the 2nd next year. I mean, I personally would be worth giving up a 1st, but that would hurt. That would hurt a lot, giving up a 1st next year, just because of how good next year will be and given the fact that they may or may not want to draft a quarterback.
draft or utilize those first round picks to acquire a
acquire a quarterback. But I think you could get it done with a second because of how teams are viewing that and the lack of competition with other teams moving up.
Any other running backs that you see, whether that is in the first or the second round?
Yeah, the Arkansas running back, he is a physical freak, but this running back class it's rough. It's rough, Zach. Price, he sat behind Love. I like some of his intangibles. There's just not a lot of tape on him. He has a good broken tackle rate. I don't know about his catching. His blocking, from what I've seen, has been solid. So that's an option, but I don't think this is a Rams team that necessarily the first two rounds, if we keep our picks, needs to draft people that's going to be for the future, in my personal opinion. You need to draft people that can be role players at minimum or contributors to a Super Bowl winning season.
Yeah, I think, obviously if you can get a generational talent, which is what Love kind of seems to be, then you go for it. If not, then you still have Kyron, you still have Blake, you still have, Ronnie Rivers, and you have Hunter still kind of in the backfield. Maybe we'll see him eventually to kind of work on.
Out of all running back prospects, the only people I've liked more than Love was Bijan coming out of Texas, and then Genty coming out of Boise. Since I started doing draft stuff, so like 4 or 5 years, I'm probably missing one or two, but it's a pretty short list. I think Love is fantastic. Do you want to talk about Sadiq a little? Because I do have thoughts on Sadiq. Because I know a lot of fans
just about to
take Sadiq.
I have him pulled up right now.
Spoiler.
We are spoiler. Sorry. All right. So let's go into the last kind of weapon category that the Rams could look towards, and that is the tight end position. And you stole my thunder to talk about Sadiq. Go ahead, drop us the Sadiq truth bomb here.
Okay. I am not for drafting Sadiq. Now, let me be very...
Sean McVay.
Zach, I am known in all my fantasy leagues as the tight end guy. I'm the guy who wanted us to get Kincaid, who I think is very much underutilized, but I wanted us to trade 2 firsts for Bowers. I love watching tight ends. I think it's such a fascinating position to learn about and watch. Sadiq is a physical freak. Don't get me wrong. He is physically one of the most gifted tight end prospects to be coming out in the last 5 to 8 years. He struggles badly.
I was just going to say, I want to go back to the freak real quick before you kind of do that.
Yes.
Dude is a 6'3", 241-pound dude with a 43.5-inch vertical who runs a 4.39 40-yard dash.
He's a physical freak, man. He is good.
Holy
and he's quick.
Crap.
He struggles to block. He really struggles to block, Zach. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed, and I think that could be a big issue. Now, if it was in the second round, I don't think there would be any doubt. But given how our tight end room is still loaded with decently talented players, and then Ferguson, someone else we hope blossoms and continues working on his blocking. That's the reason why he didn't get on the field a lot in the first quarter, 2/3 of last season. A lot was because his blocking was a little rough around the edges. Sadiq's is worse than Ferguson coming out. And he really struggles against ends and D linemen. Linebackers, he can kind of get away with it. I don't know what NFL linebackers, probably not. But I think that's going to be the biggest issue with him is you're going to have to use him almost solely as a catching target initially. That doesn't mean he can't grow and doesn't mean there isn't something they see in his tape where they're like, okay, we can fix that now and make him useful. So the idea of Sadiq, I think he's too much of a project player for win now season. If you told me, Zach, this was last year and Sadiq was coming out in the first and we had the same pick, I would be like, yeah, take Sadiq. But if you're talking about this is like a last dance, a push for a Super Bowl, are you going to wait for you're not going to start him over the other three guys? So you're going to wait for him just to learn how to block and have Stafford get pressured and sacked?
But when you have three tight ends on the field, do you need him to be the lead blocker if you have three tight ends on the field?
It only works whenever they think the tight ends will potentially block. That's the beauty of the formation.
I get it. But I do want to go back to, he is currently projected somewhere in that 14 to 22 range. Can Les Snead hold Sean McVay off from pulling another tight end when you have someone who is considered, that freak piece of it in the tight end room?
I'll put it this way.
You think Sean McVay will be like, we could teach him how to block? Surely we could teach him how to block.
I think if they see something in the tape where they don't think it's catastrophic and they can refine and fix it, if he's there, I do see them potentially wanting to pull trigger, especially like if Tate and then Tyson go and it's Lemon. I would rather have Sadiq than Lemon, to be honest. Even though I think Lemon for next year would be better for us than Sadiq would, if you're talking about pure like gameplay wise and like winning football games. Sure. But I think over the long term, if Sadiq can grow in his blocking, he can be a top 5 tight end. Physically, like he's got all the gifts. That's not the issue. It's just the blocking technique is a little rough around the edges. And then you could say like his deep route running could need, like he's a tight end. He's not going to have the best route running, right. But I liked how he ran routes in the middle of the field. So
I mean, that burst all-time record in the combine for speed and highest vertical jump in tight end combine history. I mean,
hey, they may draft him and try to do what they did with Jacob Harris and just make him a wide receiver.
Hey, they really need a wide receiver 3, so we could take that too. Let's talk a little bit. I know something that you talked about the Cardinals before their needs on their podcast, but a lot of people, and I know we don't want to make this a focus because we think the Rams are not going to do this, but they're not going to do it. There is a lot of talk from a lot of different reputable places that think that the Rams are going to go offensive tackle. Reputable. I mean,
no.
I mean, this is NFL.com. This isn't like, Joe Blow Rams.com. Like, this is
the NFL
guy.
.com guy has them taking a left tackle when we still have Larry Jackson. Unless if they're not telling us something about Larry's health, they've already paid him enough money. Like, they're not going to draft a swing tackle on a NFL or in what they think is a Super Bowl window season. They're not going to draft a bench swing tackle. That it doesn't make any sense. This draft doesn't have great tackles to start out with. They have 2 decent ones, like 2 good ones. I would say like Rob Havenstein was like good, but like, do you want to take just good when you have other positions of more need and you have 2 tackles that played really good? We had a top 5 O-line last year, and these people are just pretending they're blind and they don't have eyes. And they're like, oh, I don't recognize those 2 tackle names, so they must not be good. The Rams need a right tackle.
Well, I will say that the Rams are in a good spot right now. The fear is what happens when one of their pieces goes down. I mean, obviously, we're having Rob Havenstein go out. There was a very good replacement for him. That was what kind of, I think, helped ease him to be able to retire. The Rams were in good hands at that point.
I don't
But
know.
where do
This
we
fan
go
base
now?
wanted
We have one.
McClendon cut at a
Well,
certain point, and I was the one of the few people in the fan base saying, "No, give him time. He's a late
right.
round player out of Georgia. Like
But the
he'll
Rams are going
grow.
to need depth pieces.
They
Obviously we
can get
want to make
later.
we are sure you can, but you always have to have that kind of fear of like, yes, I love Alaric Jackson. You know how much I am all in for Alaric Jackson, have been since he became a Ram. But he does have those blood clot issues. And so if that pops up again and he has to be sidelined, you're going to want to fill those pieces. And the one thing that you do not want to screw up is not being able to protect Matthew Stafford for all 18 weeks.
I don't think putting in a rookie if someone goes down would be much better, to be honest. Rookies take time to grow, especially on the O line and gel, and it would be kind of a mess anyways. In in my in my opinion, especially with this class, there are a few centers that I like that I think we could draft for depth later on, but I don't think it would be worthwhile taking a swing tackle in the first round. I think that's just asinine and crazy given the fact that they want to win a Super Bowl. Can you do it? Sure. I mean, the Seahawks got a quarterback in the third round, and it did not hurt them. A backup quarterback in the third round. I mean, but again, that's not exactly a tackle in the first round that you're expecting to sit. And you're not going to start a rookie over either of our tackles.
No, I don't
think I
think
said
so.
it
I
on
don't. I don't
Twitter.
think.
I would throw something at my TV if they draft a tackle at 13.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they should. I'm in the camp of I think we need to give Matthew Stafford all the weapons in the world. But that is just one of the highlights that I kept seeing recurring was different offensive linemen that they could get at the top spot.
It's because a lot of these people they look at the team comps, they just look at the retirements. They see Rob Havenstein, that's a name they recognize somewhat. They're like, oh, he retired. They don't have a right tackle we recognize, and they don't realize McClendon played great. He was a top 15 right tackle in the NFL last year. He was. That's just that's truth. Now we've seen with people like No Boom, like that may not last, and like you have that potential where he gets figured out a little bit, but is that worth rolling that dice on drafting a bench player just in case of again you're kind of drafting scared in that point. You shouldn't be drafting scared in the situation. You should be pushing your chips in, and the people who push their chips in typically beat the people who are scared.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the offense. Is there anybody in the defense on the defensive side? I know that you mentioned McCoy out of LSU. Is there anybody else on the defensive side that you would pick in the first round, second round? What are your thoughts?
So Arvell Reese is both of the give me a second. I'm pulling it up right here. Yeah, Arvell Reese and Sony Styles. I think Reese is going to go in like 2 or 3, so you would have to trade up really high to get him. I don't think that's going to happen. But Sony Styles, Zach, this guy is a freak. He is probably going to come out and be a top 5 NFL linebacker his first year as a rookie. He is going to be insane. He's super quick, super agile, great in coverage. Probably be better than most of our DBs were in coverage last year, to be honest. As a rookie, you probably have to trade up to 7 or 8 to get him. But if he fell to 13, I would take Sony Styles in a heartbeat over Lemon, to be honest. Again, I don't think Lemon is a bad player, and I hope people don't understand. I'm not saying Lemon is bad. I just think Lemon would be like at pick 23 or 24, 25. He would have been a good pick last year for where we were picking. I think we had 28 last year, something like that. So, yeah, let me look
One of the players that
through.
I was looking at, just because I'm from Cincinnati, I kind of have that Cincinnati roots, is Jake Golday. I think that's how you pronounce his name, but he's a linebacker with the University of Cincinnati. He would be a later round, day two, round 2 or 3, but he's a 6'4", 239-pound frame, 4.62 40-yard dash. So he's super quick, super speedy. He kind of has that elite versatility that I think the Rams could utilize and would be, a really good depth piece, for what we got going on right now. With Landman and things like that, I think he could be a good fit.
No, I definitely agree.
I mean, shoot. I mean, again, it's like one of those things where how can you find a 6'4", 240-pound who runs a 4.6 on a 40-yard dash? I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I would say in the second round, people I would like the Rams to kind of target would be Brandon Cece. He's cornerback out of South Carolina. I think the South Carolina cornerbacks, they went from legitimately having one of a top 5 defense in college football to being a complete mess because of how bad and how much their offense regressed. You kind of remember, Zach, in 22, the offense was so bad it was affecting defense, and our defense was kind of underrated that year. It wasn't perfect, but it was a little underrated. It got impacted so much because they were constantly getting put on the field. That same thing happened to South Carolina, but even worse because they had a historically bad, I think their pass protection grade was 5th lowest in all-time college history. That's how bad the O-line was in South Carolina. It got to a point where it got the entire offensive line coaching staff fired and all those players basically removed from the starting positions. And I think these South Carolina cornerbacks are very underrated, great at man-to-man, and I think he would be a great cornerback 3 to kind of put in rotation with Emmanuel Forbes. I think both of them would be able to kind of come in, take some reps away from our new additions and kind of give them a breather here and there. They wouldn't be complete liabilities, and he should be there in the second. He might be gone by then. That's my only hesitation with taking CC.
What about the guy from Ohio State, Igbigninson? Davison?
That is one guy I have not been able to look into. Now, because
He's a
of
safety.
how I've started, I was looking more at Cardinals needs originally when I was going through and doing my research for this draft class. So it was mostly O-line. They didn't need wide receiver, and they didn't need cornerbacks because they said they've been drafting a lot of cornerbacks. And so that's cornerbacks and safeties, especially since we made our trade, have kind of been on my back burner. I know about the South Carolina cornerbacks because I watch South Carolina and Georgia mostly. So I kind of have inside knowledge on those two. So I can't really speak to any of the other cornerbacks. I do like the linebacker out of Georgia. I think him in the 5th or 6th round would be a great addition to our linebacker core.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. I just think that, yeah, the Rams are definitely going to look at that, still look at the safety and cornerback position going into this draft. I think that they're going to make a play. If they do something offensive side on one, I think they're going to go defensive with two or definitely two or three will be more of a defensive chip. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of our mini preview, kind of more of the top end of the draft than kind of the back half. Once you get to the round
I
7,
it
it's a
isn't
lot
it
harder to figure
refreshing,
out.
Zach, to talk about the first round? This is
Yeah,
new. This
yeah. I mean,
we're
recently
talking
new,
about
you know.
top. I'm always used to like not having. I've recently paid more attention to top end draft because I've gotten more into fantasy football. But like 3 years ago, I just never even looked at the top 15 players. Like I was like, we ain't
I
getting
mean,
them,
we
Zach.
we came into this, after the Super Bowl, thinking that we had 2 first round picks. We got one of them away for an amazing player, and I can't wait to see him on the field. But this would be the second first round pick in the Sean McVay era. Crazy
Did
to
pretty
think about.
good. Did pretty good with the last one too. Pretty good.
Pretty
But
good.
he
All
kind of
right.
fell. He fell to us. So
Yes. Anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap this up, before our draft preview?
no, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment down below and comment in the chat. Who would you pick at 13? Who do you guys like? Seen a lot of mock drafts. I think we got a few on our post about asking for mock drafts from fans.
Yeah, I think we covered a few of their picks while we were talking about it.
Yeah, that's fine. We can save it for next episode too. I think we'll probably end up doing one more episode before the draft. Hopefully, we get more intel on who they're interviewing, who they're talking to. I think they have talked to Love, but I'm not 100% sure about that. The Rams are one of those teams that they really don't interview until the last second.
They keep a lot of their stuff really close to the vest. For sure.
They try, and then they get used, and then like the whole AJ Brown thing. I don't even think we talked about that or gone to. We'll probably get into some of that stuff in the draft preview, the pre-draft show.
Yep. So thanks everybody for joining this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. You can always find us live, youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. Pretty much, right now we're in the off season, but we always do it around 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Find us on those. Make sure you check us on X. That's when we'll let you guys know when we're going to be on next at East Coast Rams. You can also follow us on Instagram and Threads at East Coast Rams Pod. That's Ashton at RamfanAshton1, right? And then I'm at Zac Mayer. You can find all handles below. We're really excited. I don't know if I've been more excited for an off season than this off season. Not all, obviously we talked about a little bit of player drama at the beginning, but realistically, we don't have any like major drama when it comes to players coming back and things like that. I think that we're kind of in a good spot. Obviously there's still talk about what Stafford's contract's going to look like for the next year. We got to deal with Puka, but other than those, feels like those two things are only minor things right now. But outside of that, I think that we're in a good spot for this season. Can't wait to continue to have this discussion, go through the draft. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to cover it with you, Ashton. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.